The Department of Justice is now investigating claims that the Washington, D.C. Police Department manipulated crime data to present a more favorable picture of public safety in the nation's capital. According to sources briefed on the matter, the probe will examine whether crime statistics were deliberately altered. This investigation follows President Donald Trump's decision on August 11th to federalize the city's Metropolitan Police Department, a move he justified by citing a persistent crime wave. The president has been vocal on the issue, posting on social media that D.C. provided, quote, fake crime numbers in order to create a false illusion of safety, and calling the practice a very bad and dangerous thing to do. The allegations of data manipulation are not new. In July, the D.C. Police Union Chairman, Greg Pemberton, claimed that it was a trend for senior officers to arrive at crime scenes and direct members to report lesser offenses. He alleged that incidents like carjackings or stabbings were sometimes officially recorded as simple thefts or felony assaults to skew the statistics. These claims gained further traction after a D.C. police commander, Michael Pulliam, was suspended in mid-May for allegedly falsifying crime data in his district, though he has denied the allegations. The federalization of the police force and the subsequent investigation have been met with sharp criticism from Democratic leaders. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton both argued that the move was baseless, pointing to data showing that violent crime in the city is at a 30-year low. However, the data itself presents a complex picture. While some metrics show a recent drop, D.C. homicides soared to a 20-year high in 2023. And a July study by the Council on Criminal Justice found that while overall violent crime may be down, the lethality of those crimes has skyrocketed. The study found that in Washington, D.C., the number of homicides per aggravated assault and robbery increased by 38% in 2024 compared to 2018, the highest increase among the 17 cities examined. Staying with matters involving the Department of Justice and Congress, the DOJ has agreed to begin the process of handing over its extensive files from the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking investigation. The chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Republican James Comer of Kentucky, announced the development Monday night. He cautioned, however, that the process will be a lengthy one. In a statement, Comer noted, quote, "There are many records in DOJ's custody, and it will take the department time to produce all the records and ensure that the identification of victims and any child sexual abuse material are redacted. The transfer of documents represents a significant step in a case that has captivated and horrified the public for years, involving a web of powerful and high-profile individuals. Lawmakers and victims' advocates have long pushed for the full release of these files, believing they are key to understanding the full scope of Epstein's trafficking network and holding all responsible parties accountable." Chairman Comer credited what he called the Trump administration's commitment to transparency for the agreement. At this time, neither the Department of Justice nor the Oversight Committee has provided a specific timeline for when the documents will begin to be transferred or what specific materials will be included in the first batch of records. From domestic investigations to foreign policy, the White House today firmly rejected the idea of providing open-ended funding for Ukraine. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stated that President Trump is not interested in writing, quote, blank checks to support the war effort, emphasizing that the president is very sensitive to the needs of the American taxpayer. Instead of direct financial aid, which has totaled at least $175 billion since February 2022, the administration is promoting a different approach. Leavitt outlined what she called a very creative solution, where NATO allies would purchase American-made weaponry and then provide that equipment to the Ukrainian military. This strategy effectively shifts the financial responsibility from direct U.S. taxpayer funding to military sales to European partners. This policy clarification echoes recent comments from Vice President J.D. Vance. Following meetings in the United Kingdom earlier this month, Vance said he communicated to European leaders that the U.S. is, quote, done with the funding of the Ukraine war business, and that European nations must step up and take a more substantial role in resolving a conflict happening in their own backyard. This new framework appears to be an expansion of a deal President Trump approved in July, which allowed European allies to purchase U.S. weapons, such as Patriot missile defense systems, for Ukraine's use. This focus on shifting international burdens aligns with the administration's broader policy platform, a theme that was also on display at the nation's southern border. Yesterday, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem held a press conference at the U.S.-Mexico border wall in Santa Teresa, New Mexico. Flanked by U.S. Border Patrol officials, the event was a clear effort to highlight the administration's ongoing focus on border security and enforcement. While details of the press conference were not immediately released, such events are typically used to discuss the effectiveness of physical barriers like the wall, announce new enforcement statistics, and reiterate a tough stance on illegal immigration. The location in the El Paso sector is significant, as it is historically one of a number of key areas for migrant crossings and enforcement operations. The press conference serves as a visible demonstration of the administration's commitment to its cornerstone immigration policies and its efforts to project an image of control and security at the border. Finally, turning to the courts, a significant ruling on voting rights has emerged from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. In a case concerning Louisiana's state legislative districts, a three-judge panel affirmed a lower court's decision, finding that the state's redrawn electoral maps violate Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act. In essence, the court agreed that the maps were drawn in a way that illegally discriminates on the basis of race. Section 2 is a crucial provision of the landmark 1965 law that prohibits any voting practice or procedure that results in a denial or abridgment of the right to vote on account of race or color. Over the years, courts have interpreted this to forbid what is known as racial gerrymandering, the practice of manipulating electoral district boundaries to dilute the voting power of minority communities. The legal battle is far from over, however. In response to the ruling, the state of Louisiana has already asked the Fifth Circuit to put its decision on hold. The state's attorneys are arguing for a pause until the U.S. Supreme Court rules on a separate but related federal redistricting case that it is scheduled to hear this October. This move indicates that the ultimate fate of Louisiana's legislative maps could be decided by the nation's highest court,